Hello, everyone. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this. So the Bitcoin maxis now are just making up blatant lies about XRP. The latest is that Ripple could just seize your XRP from you through the XRP ledger. And David Schwartz says, nope, assets can only be clawed back by their issuer, and XRP has no issuer. So we know XRP cannot be clawed back. However, RLUSD can be clawed back. That's the difference. And I don't know what's been going on with these Bitcoin maxis. I guess they're trying to keep people distracted from what was in the Epstein files. And here are some more XRP myths that were debunked by David Schwartz. But I think David just had enough. He recently also said that Bitcoin is technologically broken, that as technology moves forward, it's going to leave Bitcoin behind. And he also addressed that there could be a fork on Bitcoin as well because of quantum computing. But nobody wants to believe that. These Bitcoin maxis somehow believe that everything is just going to be perfect for Bitcoin forever, and that everything else is going to zero against Bitcoin. Kaboom! XRP is about to be mass adopted. So I'm just going to show you the synopsis of this whole article. Mass adoption of XRP extends beyond trading or speculative activity as banks integrate XRP into settlement and liquidity infrastructure. The network could become a cornerstone for cross-border payments, tokenized assets, and regulated digital liquidity. Crypto Sensei emphasized that these developments will support institutions going well into 2030, reinforcing XRP's position as more than a market token, an operational tool with real-world utility. It's going to be utilized for its actual use case. And we already see the banks getting involved with XRP. We know the adoption is real. And the fact that XRP is getting adopted, that's the biggest fear for these Bitcoin maxis. That's why they hate it so much. Take a listen to this.
Goldman Sachs apparently has $2.3 billion worth of crypto. So they are buyers. And here's how they split this. 46% Bitcoin, 42% ETH, 6% XRP, 5% Solana. Rate that portfolio, David. What do you think about that spread?
I don't hate it. I hate 6% of it. I don't really care for the XRP, but I don't know if I'm Goldman Sachs, then maybe I'm into it.
So why is it only XRP? He doesn't hate Solana. He doesn't hate Ethereum. Why XRP? It's because XRP is the biggest threat to Bitcoin, and they know it. And even the Epstein files showed us that. They seen it as a threat all the way back in 2014. And that's why they wanted to kill it through the Rippleverse SEC case. That alone should make you want to hold this cryptocurrency even more, because now you see that they see it as a better Bitcoin. And these same people praise this guy right here. The biggest loser of the dot-com bubble is about to become the biggest crypto loser. Take a listen to this clip.
If Bitcoin falls 90% for the next 4 years, we'll refinance the debt.
You refinance where, Michael?
We'll just roll it forward. I mean, again.
But you think banks would lend to you at that point?
Yeah, because the volatility of Bitcoin is such that there's always going to be value. Look, you're at 68,000 right now. Literally has to fall to 8,000. Then we just refinance the debt. If you think it's going to zero, then we'll deal with that. But I don't think it's going to zero, and I don't think it's going to 8,000 either. But the credit risk is de minimis at this point.
Imagine that way of thinking. And even the CNBC host can't believe what he just said. You know, you're just going to refinance the debt. Well, banks don't look at Bitcoin the way that Michael Saylor looks at Bitcoin. They don't see the value in it, and they don't believe it's an up-only game. You know, something could come along and Bitcoin could just plummet down very hard. I mean, Tether losing its peg is going to be one of the nails in Bitcoin's coffin. But imagine following that guy and thinking that Bitcoin is just nonstop going to go up forever when there's already a better Bitcoin that was created, XRP. Ripple partner SBI Holdings is doubling down on the future of finance. The group has announced its intention to acquire Coinoko, a leading digital asset platform in Singapore. Goal: expanding the global corridor for digital assets, possibly Ripple ODL. Target: majority stake in Coinoko to make it a consolidated subsidiary. Vision: accelerating the era of tokenization, stablecoins, and next-gen finance in Asia. A massive move for the regional digital asset ecosystem. You know XRP Ledger is in here somewhere, and you know they will utilize XRP as well. Everything that SBI does, it's to build around RippleNet and XRP. You got to remember, they own 9% of Ripple shares, and they also are a big holder of XRP as well. I want to see where this goes from here. And with the price of XRP going up even in the slightest, the glitches are back. Did you see the glitch in the system? XRP to the moon. Now, this is old, and this happened on live TV, where XRP went to $21,355. But here's the thing. I always looked at these glitches over time. It only seems to happen for XRP. Why doesn't it happen for all these other cryptocurrencies? That's why I believe that every once in a while, we get a glimpse at the private ledger. I think we get a glimpse at them testing XRP at different price points. And it just happens to be out there in the public here and there. I always said those glitches will eventually lead to riches. But it just happens for XRP way too often. I don't think that's by coincidence. I think it's by accident that we get to see behind the veil. This comes from Paul Barron, and I thought this was a great post. The Orwellian nightmare isn't just about cameras. It's about control, and the ultimate control is financial. As we have seen in the way of the FBI and Google seemingly working together to get video that was not supposed to be stored. If the ruling class decides to tighten the grip, centralized databases allow them to debank dissenters with a keystroke. This is why crypto and DeFi are actually human rights tools. By separating money from the state, blockchain ensures that your assets are immutable and uncensorable. You can't turn off a decentralized ledger. Crypto is the only firewall we have against a total surveillance state. And I totally agree with that. I always said XRP is your escape from the matrix. You ever take notice? XRP holders, they are eyes wide open. They see everything. They see through the conspiracy theories and they see the facts behind them. Even when they call you a conspiracy theorist, you know deep down you're right. And eventually, history will prove you right. You know, it's like everything. And when it comes down to crypto, I believe we are going to be transacting on an alternative rail other than a central bank digital currency, other than a stable coin, other than universal basic income. I think crypto holders are going to get very wealthy off of investing in crypto, but I think we're going to be transacting differently from everyone else in the future. You got to remember, the AI is going to be using what we're holding to send payments from one machine to another in the future. Our money is worth way more than US dollars. Binance screwed up. So they're all blaming Binance for what happened on October 10th. Here's the latest. Take a listen.
What do you think happened? Is this a Binance leverage USDE culprit?
I think Binance screwed up, and that had a lot to do with it, right? that wild deleveraging wiped out a lot of retail.
And it wiped out a lot of market makers.
And a lot of market makers, right? 30% of the market makers on Hyperliquid were gone in a day. So that's liquidity. And if you think about crypto, right? Crypto is all about narratives. It's about stories. And those stories take a while to build. And you're pulling people in. Well, that big group of retail has always been the core of crypto. Mm-hmm. This industry would not have existed to date if it wasn't for Arthur Hayes and the early guys who created these leveraged perp markets where you give people 10 to 1, 50 to 1, 100 to 1 leverage. And so they drew in all this money, a lot of it from Asia, that speculated. And that created the liquidity. And so when you wipe out a lot of those people, Humpty Dumpty doesn't get put back together right again. It takes a while. He will get put back together, right? People take their paychecks and they start saving money, and then they get a little nest egg again and they start speculating again on crypto. And so it's kind of appropriate because we're not ending. The last era has been really the era of speculation, right? Retail people don't get into crypto because they want to make 11%. Hey, a great 11% annualized. Yeah, pound sand, right? They get in because they want to make 30 to 1, 8 to 1, 10 to 1. And so we're bringing institutions where people have a different risk tolerance. And I think the era of speculation, it's not going to die, but it's going to be transposed or replaced by us using these same rails, these crypto rails, to bring financial services to the whole world.
I think he's 100% right about us wanting that 10x or 100x or 1,000x on our investment. But I don't think you could fully blame what happened on October 10th just on Binance alone. I think it was a coordinated effort that happened. But think about it, he's also blaming that on why the prices of crypto are down right now. More or less, he's saying that we're still waiting for people to put money together to get back into crypto again. But some people would argue that retail never left. Others would argue that the market's down because they're still manipulating the price of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin in general, I mean, we just had the Epstein files released, and it was very damning to Bitcoin. But I think it's OG Bitcoin holders selling off in the background as well. It's a lot of different things, and you can't just blame Binance. However, I do also believe he's right. As the institutions get into this space, I don't think we're going to see these 100x, 1000x after this run. I think this is the run you got to make money or you will regret it forever. Because after this, say XRP runs up to $100 and some dollars, everybody expects it to come right back down. And because it's not going to come back down, you lose the opportunity to jump back in if you sell. So institutions, they don't want to see that kind of volatility. They won't utilize a token if it has that kind of volatility. So maybe we get this massive run up, but XRP continues to rise as it's being utilized. Because I don't think they're utilizing XRP at the price it's at right now. Not at any type of scale where we're going to see all of a sudden the flip of the switch moment. That's going to come with the price rise over a short period of time. It's going to lead us into a utility run, which will lead us into a flip of the switch moment. But after that, that's it. You're not going to get these run-ups of like 100x or 1000x. You might get percentages. Maybe you see a 10% gain on your investment or a 5% gain here and there. And maybe you get a slight dip of 5 or 10% also. But you're going to see these cryptocurrencies level out with institutional adoption, with mass adoption. That's why I said, this is your shot. This is it. If you don't get rich off of this cycle, most likely you're going to end up chasing something else, chasing the next big thing. And I'm telling you now, another big one that nobody's looking at is Flare. And it's dirt cheap right now. But like I always tell you, until it all happens, you got to stay patient and stay positive. And the reason I say that is because you can't fall into the negativity, and you got to have the patience to make it through the dips. And then there's this. Cryptocurrency entrepreneurs have become targeted prey for robbers. Binance France CEO escaped a home invasion robbery attempt, and suspects have been arrested. This is the latest one. Crypto entrepreneurs are being targeted. This is why you don't talk about how much XRP you're holding, how much you're buying. Even after you make a lot of money off of your XRP, you don't want to be on X or all over social media saying, I just became a multimillionaire by holding XRP. Keep it to yourself. Otherwise, you will become a future target. And like I tell you, until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.